The Lexus RX has been one of Lexus's best-selling vehicles in their lineup for a really long time, for almost 20 years. Let's check out the latest rendition with this 2019 RX 350, which is fully spec'd out. Let's check it out. So, first off, the exterior color of this particular RX is called Eminent White. This color especially pops and I really like how this car looks. The first thing you notice are these tri-beam LED headlights. Now, standard, you'll get a bi-LED headlight. So this is the upgraded headlight. So this is LED low beams, high beams, DRLs, and turn signals. If you want to look at the turn signal, that's it over there. It's actually really bright, and the DRL is just under that little L, and then you also have LED fog lights under there as well. Since we're in the front, you do have the front view camera. Since this car does have the 360 view camera, you also have headlight washers and parking sensors around there. And then coming along the side, you have these upgraded 19-inch wheels, which I'm not that sure about how I think about them. They sort of look a little hybridish, like these would fit more on the RX hybrid, but they are pretty good looking wheels. They fit the car, I guess. But anyways, this car also has optional running boards. They look like they don't do anything right now. When you open the door, they actually do a lot. I don't really use them because the car isn't that low, well, the car isn't that high. This one also has the panoramic moonroof, if you guys can see that, and the roof rails. You got a standard sized moonroof as standard equipment, but this one has all the features and upgrades on it. Now, coming along the rear, you have almost full LED taillights. So you have LED running lights, LED turn signals, and incandescent reverse lights. The license plate lights are also LEDs up there. There's a glimpse of what the turn signal looks like. So in other countries, it's a sequential turn signal, but here, because of the US lighting laws, it's only like that. But since we're at the rear, you have this really interesting rear quarter window. Now, I think either Lexus or Nissan started it, and now everyone's doing it. Even it's on the Odyssey. But it sort of looks, I don't know how I feel about it. I don't think it makes it look ugly, but it just makes it look different. Has that sort of floating roof design that I think even Land Rover, Range Rover started a long time ago. You have a hidden rear wiper, which actually clears a lot. I don't know, I like rear wipers in cars. Now, down here you have dual exhaust outlets, but if you just look a little closer, it's not actually the chrome exhaust outlet. It's just a regular tailpipe, just garnished with something nice. I believe the tow rating for these things is about 3,500 pounds with all-wheel drive. And since we're already at the back of the car, you have a power tailgate, of course, and a hands-free tailgate, I believe, if you just hold your hand behind here, behind the Lexus logo. Yep. It'll automatically open. Now, behind the second row seats with them up, you have 18.5 cubic feet of volume. And then when you fold the second row down with these little levers, you have 56 cubic feet of volume, so not too bad. I think it's around its competition, like the Ford Edge. Well, not really the Ford Edge, the Lincoln Nautilus, and other mid-sized luxury SUVs in this segment. But this one does have the optional rubber mat, but if you go underneath that, you have a donut as your spare tire, and your tools are also down there as well. And just close it. It is also height adjustable, and if you click it twice, it'll lock the car. That's just one thing to know about the RX. Now, before we get in, here's a glimpse of the key fob. So it's Lexus's standard key fob that you'll see on most of their products, but you have your lock, unlock, trunk release, and panic button, and then you have a little key inside if you just push and then pull from the bottom. But this car does have the smart key access system, so you could just keep the key in your pocket or your purse, walk up to the car, Now the setting for the mirrors is on auto right now, so as soon as you grab the handle it'll unlock. The mirrors will also fold out, and then to lock it just press this little indentation over here, and then it'll lock and the mirrors will fold in. But getting inside, you have a 12-way powered driver's seat. It's nice, I like it. The seats are actually pretty comfortable, and you also have thigh adjustment here, so it's actually really useful. And it's also perforated leather. It sort of is like a really dark, rich brown. I'd almost call it mocha, maybe even a little darker than that. But you do have some stitching in the middle here, and it is perforated leather. The driver and passenger side seats are heated and ventilated. Now looking at the door panel, as you'd expect, it's pretty much all soft touch materials up top here. Real wood trim down here, some aluminum trim here. You have 3-person memory for your driver's seat, steering wheel, and mirrors. There are your window controls, door locks, window locks, and mirror controls over here. And there's the buttons to control the power folding mirrors. You also have a soft touch armrest, some LED puddle lamps down here, a bottle holder, and some storage. It's sort of nice that you can flip this out like that. And Lexus scuff plates, as you'd expect. Getting inside, it's not that high of a car at all, and I don't really need the running boards, and I'm not that short of a person anyway. But to start the car up, just put your foot on the brake and press the start button to go. Now inside of the RX, I'm pretty familiar with the RXs if you've seen my RXL review, and I've done a 2016 RX review. That one isn't as good as this one is going to be, but I'm pretty familiar with the interior, and I've always had high expectations for just quality and everything for just any Lexus interior. Everything on the dash is soft to the touch, just like the door panel. This is plastic, but it looks nice. It looks like metal. It doesn't look cheap at all, but it is plastic over here, also here and on the doors. But it's all soft touch material. It doesn't feel hard or uncomfortable at all. Not like you'd be resting your head or something on here, but you do have some injection molding, like stitching and stuff like that. And then looking at the glove box, there's that little button over there. It's felt lined, and it's actually pretty large inside. You have key pockets for the keys. That's nice. That might not come in the one that you're looking at, but it's nice to see that. Now looking at the steering wheel, it's Lexus's pretty standard steering wheel that you'll see on most of their products. So it's 3-spoke leather wrapped with wood trim. I like the wood trim up here and down here because you can actually, that's one of the few places of the wheel that you can actually grip. But looking at the left side of the wheel, you have your volume and audio controls. So you have your volume up down here, channel forward backward, and track forward backward. Your mode button, voice control, Bluetooth phone buttons to pick up and hang up, and over here on the right you have your menu controls, which control the center display up there. Pretty much all of these buttons here. And this is your lane keep assist button and your adaptive cruise control button. And down here is your cruise control stock. And on the far left of the wheel on the dash, you have your auto high beams button, your power tailgate button, heads up display. If you guys can see that, it's right up there, and you can adjust it if you want to show the tachometer or some economy stuff, just anything that you want. You also have a heated steering wheel, and if you hit the view button while you're in gear, it'll show that 360 view camera and the front view camera. And when you put the car into reverse, it'll show the backup camera, and you can select which lines that you want to show, or if you want different views to pop up when you're in reverse. Below that is just some little storage cubby that pretty much all Lexuses I know of have, and down there is the hood release. Now looking at the headlight stock, the headlights are automatic, as you'd expect for something like this. And looking over here, you have your wiper controls, and which are also rain sensing. Now looking at the gauges, I like the font, I like the gauges. It's all a nice looking style of gauges, but it's starting to get dated, as stuff like the Acura RDX, for example, is just coming out with a full LCD display, just like a lot of its competition is offering. But to use that center display over there, you just press this button over here, and then looking at the information, you can scroll up and down, so it just shows general vehicle information and fuel economy. And then if you scroll to the right, you have your compass and navigation, audio, driver assistance, vehicle warnings and messages, and your settings over there. So that controls all the settings for that little screen up there, and also the heads-up display. Looking at the center of the car, you have a 12.3-inch display, which isn't touchscreen. It uses Lexus's N-form knob. It's pretty simple to get used to. If you just hit menu, that's basically the home button, and you can scroll if you want to set destinations to navigation, radio, media, phone, all the different stuff like that. So it's not complicated at all to use. And looking at the map, it's pretty clear. I kind of expect more from especially from seeing stuff at Acura and Audi. Especially Acura is stepping up their game, but especially Audi is integrating Google Maps with their cars. That's really nice. And another downside from the infotainment on this car is that you don't have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto at all. That might be for the next gen RX. Anyways, down here you have your radio and audio controls. This one does have the Mark Levinson audio system. It sounds really good. Let me see if I can find some copyright free music. I don't want to get a copyright strike, but that's just a little glimpse of it, and it doesn't really show through the camera, but it does sound really good. It's not as clear as I would want it to be, but it doesn't sound tinny or rattly at all. But all the controls for the radio are pretty simple to use too. Like, there's the volume and power knob, there's the tuning and scrolling knob, and this is the CD eject button, radio, media, preset. So you basically have hard buttons for the screen up there. But you do have a CD player, which is probably going to go away for the next gen RX, but it's nice to see that there, because I know a lot of people still actually use the CD player. Now down here you have dual zone automatic climate control, so there's the driver's side and the passenger side controls. Again, not that hard to get used to. There's the fan speed buttons, auto, and just all that kind of stuff down there. And over here you have your heated and ventilated driver and passenger side seat controls. And the ventilation in the seats actually works pretty well. And on this side, you have your electronic parking brake and your brake hold button. Now back here, you have an 8-speed automatic transmission, which is shiftable with only the gear shift down here. You don't have paddle shifters or anything, but it's nice to have that. You also have a different drive mode select, so you have Eco, Normal, and Sport. So that's basically like any other Lexus that you'll see. You also have a center diff locker and the traction control off button over there. Over here you have an auto-dimming frameless rearview mirror with Garage Home Link, and above that you have LED accent lighting all throughout the car, like for the footwells and just everywhere. It's nice to see everything at night. And here are the sunroof controls. Now this model does have the panoramic sunroof, and you do have the automatic sunshade up there as well. It's nice to have the panoramic sunroof because it just makes it feel a lot bigger inside. And yes, you do have visors with lights and mirrors. I'm really surprised that these lights aren't LEDs up there, but Jacob and Yuri, this thing does pass the visor test, and the headliner just feels really nice and smooth. So that's typical Lexus, just making everything feel comfortable inside. And this is a really comfortable car. Behind the little N-form joystick, you have this really small phone holder that looks like it was made for an iPhone 5, so I don't know why that thing's there. Also, looking at the armrest, it's a soft touch material as well, with more of that stitching that continues all along here. And you have a center console, obviously, with it's felt lined. You have a USB port and aux jack, 2 USB ports, an aux jack, and a power outlet right there. And this just lets you remove the felt lining, and then it has a little pen holder over there. Now getting in the back seat is just as comfortable as the front seat, and this front seat is all the way back in its tracks, and I still have not that much legroom, but this is really all the way back in its tracks, so you have to be really tall to have this driving position, but you do have map pockets on both sides of the seats right here, and 2 air vents, which is nice, but you don't have a third climate control, and you have a 12-volt power outlet down there, and just an empty space to throw your phone or something down there. And then also in the back you have rear sunshades, so that's a nice touch. You also have more of the same materials as you do in the front seat, so soft touch material all throughout the door, a bottle holder, some storage. All 4 windows are automatic, and also headroom. I still have, I guess that's 2 inches of headroom, and that's really good, especially with the panoramic sunroof, so that's a good job. Also up here you have some more LED lighting, and if you pull down the center armrest, you have 2 cup holders over here, and then some storage over here, and then the armrest is actually sort of soft. If I rest my hand down here, it's actually pretty comfortable, so they did a good job on that part. The rear seats also recline. Let me show you guys that lever. That's right here, so they recline just a little bit, so it's not too much, but it's something nice to have, especially if you're sitting here in a long road trip. So getting under the hood latch is pretty much right smack in the middle and to the right a little bit of the Lexus logo, and it's just a sea of plastic. You have a 3.5 liter V6 that makes 295 horsepower and 267 pound-feet of torque, and that's going to all 4 wheels using an 8-speed automatic transmission. And this is Toyota's tried and true 3.5 V6, the 2GR FE. So Toyota's been using it for maybe 10 plus years, and it's dead reliable, and you get pretty good gas mileage. You should be expecting about 19 miles per gallon in the city, 26 on the highway, and a combined rating of 22. That's not terrible for something this size, and it kind of gets up and go. It's not that fast. We'll talk about performance right after this. But anyways, let's hear how this thing sounds and then take it out for a spin. So when you're behind the wheel of the RX, it's a pretty nice place to be. I have no complaints on the ride or anything. We'll talk about that later. The turning radius isn't actually too bad for what this thing is. It's actually pretty respectable. But just in general, I'm on this neighborhood road. It's pretty smooth, just the road itself, but the car is really smooth. It's really quiet. The engine, you barely hear it at all. It's just smooth sailing from, you know, from here on. And just general acceleration when you're not driving hard is really good in normal mode. In sport mode, definitely, of course. In eco mode, of course, that neuters the car, so it just drives a lot lighter, I guess. Steering is actually pretty nice too. It's loose, as I hope you'd expect. Just I expected loose steering as soon as I got into this car. It's not slow, it just is loose. You sort of feel a little bit disconnected, but I guess that's sort of what you want to feel when you're driving a car like this, just because it's a comfortable car and you don't want really, well, at least in my perspective of an RX buyer, well, a prospective RX buyer, you wouldn't care about going really fast. But it's a really comfortable car. The brakes, kind of progressive, so that's nice. They don't Like I noticed on some other vehicles, there's like a dead spot of just absolutely no brake at all. So that's good. Also, going over some speed bumps, obviously it wallows a little bit, but it's nothing you can't handle. It drives like a Lexus. It feels like you're driving a large ES or a large Camry, I would say. And this thing is also based on the Highlander, so if you're coming from a Highlander, it sort of feels like it sort of sounds like a Highlander. It gives a Highlander-ish driving feel to it. So it's nothing, it doesn't feel like you're driving a Highlander. It's a lot more comfortable and refined than a Highlander, but it's just something to take note of. Now, again, I'm just going through some roundabouts and some circles here, but the steering is fine, you know. I have no problems, no issues with it, and I'm just driving around here. Gas mileage, I've been driving this car pretty much all day, and I've been getting pretty good mileage with it, so there's nothing to complain about on that perspective of it. But even on just regular acceleration, the car is really quiet. Yeah, I mean, you hear the engine, of course, it's not electric, but it's a very nice place to be. And this vehicle does have a bunch of pre-collision and safety technology on it, and on accident, I did get to see how the emergency braking works, and it actually works pretty well. It warns you first, sort of warns you at the last minute, but it warns you, and then it slams on the brakes. Sometimes it gets annoying because I'm rolling down a hill and the car thinks I'm going to run into a car in front of me, and I'm not, and then it jerks on the brakes. So that could be a little bit better taken care of, if I should say. Let's do a little pull here on this road. I'll put myself in sport mode, and then let's see how this thing does. I was expecting it to kick down, and it didn't do that. It just kept going. I think I was in maybe third gear or something, and it has a lot of low range grunt. It doesn't have that much mid-range pulling power as you'd expect in some other vehicles, but it's adequate for the daily driver. Me, since I'm younger, I like flooring it and just, doing that a lot. But for the typical RX driver, I don't want to make that sound like a cliche or whatever, but for anyone that's seriously looking at this car, that might be you, it's more than what I could ask for. Go on to this road now. No one's in front of me now, so ooh, it does roll in the corners a little bit, and it does wallow around. It's not horrible, but it's just something to take note of. I've been saying that a lot, I think. Acceleration off the line is really good. It's just when you start getting past maybe 30, that's when it doesn't feel as lively of a car as it usually is when it's going slow. When you're going over bumps, you definitely feel the size of the wheels. The suspension soaks up bumps pretty well, but not the wheels. Like going over some harsh speed bumps, like you just hear it. It just makes noise. It just revs up and makes noise. That's pretty much it. It doesn't. This is a pretty heavy car, and you can sort of feel that. So, like I said, for normal drivers that don't have a lead foot, that expect sports sedan like acceleration, you're not gonna have any problems with this. It doesn't feel underpowered or anything. We'll do one last little pull here. It's okay. It's not fast. It's not gonna blow you away or anything, but it's good for what it does, good for what it's made for. So I have no problems or complaints with the powertrain of this car. Now, the transmission. It's so smooth. When it shifts, it's great. You don't feel it shift hard or anything. It's just the typical 8-speed that's found in the Camry and I think the Highlander and the Sienna and some other Toyota products. So you can't go wrong with that. And it's bulletproof, not literally, but it's bulletproof, reliable, and it's very comfortable and smooth. So now about pricing, the RX starts at the RX 350 base, which is $43,270. Now all of these trims are front-wheel drive, as standard. Next is the RX 350L, which starts at $47,670. Then there's the RX 350 F Sport, which is $48,920. Then there's the RX 450 Hybrid, which is $45,697. Then there's the RX 450 HL, so that's the hybrid and the long wheelbase version, and that's $50,620. And last but not least is the RX 450H F Sport, and that is $51,055. Now, all-wheel drive is optional on gas models, but on hybrid models, it's standard. Now about competition, it would be stuff like the Acura MDX, the Cadillac XT5, the Lincoln Nautilus, the Nissan Murano, and the Volvo XC60. Now, all of these cars are pretty new for this segment. Also, I think I'd add in the RDX just to be a little equal there in size. But all of these cars are pretty updated for this segment, and they're definitely putting the RX up for the money. And I'm pretty interested in trying out all these other vehicles. So definitely stay tuned for that. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed getting up close and personal with this all-new 2019 Lexus RX 350 with me today, and I hope you guys have a great day. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.